Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
I feel like we should be tanning on the beach right now, and then this man in a wetsuit, a real actual suit that's wet, just comes out right in front of us in a actual wetsuit. Yes. Hi everybody, this is AfterBuzz Scorpion. My name's Nando Velasquez, and joining me along right to my side right here is
Monse Bolanos.
Yes.
Hi, everybody.
She's back.
Hi, I'm back.
Yes.
And I'm Marina Santos.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm Ryland Adams.
Yeah, so we have the whole gang here for the first time. Yeah. Amazing. Awesome. So yeah, that song was the song when the two women were busy tanning and Gallo was getting out of the nuclear reactor. It's called Ketchup. And what was the name of the band? Do you remember?
Did we get
Happy, do we got it?
Asahere? Or Las Ketchup? Asahere?
Asahere?
Asahere is the name of the song.
song.
And
Asahere.
Las Ketchup
Oh,
is
Las
the
Ketchup
band.
is the band,
Yeah,
actually.
There you go.
Okay.
There we go.
That's
Asahere.
Asahere. Yeah.
That's the song.
That sounds like, that's a cool song. I like the song. So, it's a good song.
Fun.
It brings me back. It brings me back. It's
me.
memories. And not you.
No,
You're just not Latin enough. He's not Latin enough.
but I can jam to it.
You could jam to it.
It's
all
just
good.
also a very
appreciate
old
it.
song. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like it was popular
I'm older than the
years
song,
ago.
so it's funny when you say that because I kind of remember. I don't feel like it was that long ago, but it was long ago.
We're going to look it up.
So we'll look it up at some point. Anyway, so here we are. This is season 1, episode 5, and we're here to talk about today's episode that we just saw, which is Plutonium is Forever. And we talked about it a little bit last week when we saw the preview, but we see this new character. Probably only, I predicted he might be around for more than one episode, but I don't know after seeing this. But anyway, Mark Collins, who, from the first moment you see him, he's all dirty. He looks like your crackpot conspiracy theorist type of guy, like he's just loaded. He's probably the kind of guy that says 9/11 was a hoax, and that we're being bombarded by microwaves, or I don't know, that all sorts of crazy stuff. According to our wonderful producer, Marissa Serafini, who we like to call Happy.
I'll take that name. I like it.
You'll take the name. She hasn't really.
Is it because I'm Asian?
No.
I mean, I know
she
it's
is
like,
Asian on the
she's
show.
Asian on the show, but I'm
show.
like, I'm Asian in real life.
It's not
too,
just
so.
Asian. No, you handle all the technical
And you have-
aspects of
Did you
this.
get some?
And she did the cube. She's able to do the cube. That's
Yeah.
what made
Yes.
us say that she was
And
happy.
she does the
Right.
cube. And for those who don't realize, I mean, I engineer now out here too. I do some stuff behind the scenes, but I know nothing compared to Marissa. Marissa knows how every single piece here works. Kind of like Happy would know.
She's the genius of AfterBuzz.
Yeah, kind of like Happy knows how every
Aw,
piece of a
thanks,
motorcycle
guys.
works.
And
So
especially our
yeah,
show.
I
we
like
just have to
that.
find your Toby. That's the only thing.
Yeah, I like that. The genius
We gotta
of
find
AfterBuzz.
Toby. Yeah, the genius of
Yeah,
AfterBuzz.
I like
There you go. Yeah. And you can play this for Phil if you want, this whole thing.
Sure.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
will.
And
I'll
Steven
take it.
too. I'm sure they'll get a little jealous, but you can play it for him. Anyway, so let's get back to Mark because this character is very interesting. I didn't have a chance to look him up, the actor up, but he's very familiar to me. I don't want to say who I think it is because I think
I'll find it.
yeah, if you want to find it while we're looking it up. But anyway, very interesting. You see him out in the middle. No, again, he just seems like a Unabomber type. Like he's got a manifesto on the side. And our first shot of him is really out in the middle of what seems to be nowhere, even though we know it's a couple of miles out of LA. And just very stereotypical cliche type of character. And we see automatically, first shot is the government coming down on him with a gun. And he's just going down on his knees saying he demands to talk to Walter O'Brien. Kind of like the Blacklist, if anyone's familiar with that too. Yeah.
He planned it out perfectly because he got what he wanted. He knew what he was doing there.
Yeah, very calculating. Like he knew. Well, that's really what this is about. He knew every single move, and again, he seems like his first shot. It just seems obviously very crazy. Like he's been left out in the sun too long.
Well, he probably has been.
Well, that too. So we see this is the first time, and it's also very interesting considering the past couple of weeks. We definitely seen a theme of family throughout this, and that Walter's all about protecting others and family. So here's a character that we know nothing about. There's been no mention of it at all, and he demands for Walter O'Brien. And when Gallo gets the call, because of course he's at a government, Collins is at a government facility, so they call Gallo up, and Gallo tells Walter. Walter's incredibly secretive about everything, and he insists on going alone to visit Collins. So, and he's leaving, of course. What's interesting too is he's leaving, this is kind of the usual beginning of the show is always like Ralph hanging out with the gang or the gang doing something. And, Paige mentioned some concern about Walter not doing his long division homework and staying there. And interesting that they talk about going down the rabbit hole.
Right.
Yeah. So, which stands for, he mentions all the symptoms of going down the rabbit hole, but it's kind of like, obviously you're so wrapped up in whatever it is you're doing that you don't eat, you don't sleep. Right. It's you get physical symptoms of dehydration, of some kind of all sorts of afflictions, pretty much.
And it's benders. They don't. It's for 10 days they go on these in these rabbit holes.
Yeah, it can be a bender. Well, there have been cases where people have died over like sleep deprivation, over some. I think cases that if you're into video games, you hear about it every now and then. In Asia, in Korea, actually, with there's a certain game, I think it's Stargate or something like that. I don't know if the name of it. Forgive me if I'm messing up the name. I'm not as much of a gamer as I used to be.
So this is a legit thing. People do this.
People actually like sleep deprivation. They get so wrapped up, but it happens in video games. I don't know if it happens on such an intellectual level like this, but again, you kind of see it. We all
get lost in a world.
We all have busy lives, and I think there are times when we don't.
But I never forget to eat.
Never.
No.
Never forget to eat.
Eating every like 3 hours.
Yeah.
But sleep
is the most important.
But
thing.
sleep is probably the big thing, though. You sometimes you're losing
miss
sleep
that
because you're
either.
busy. You don't miss sleep.
I'd rather not sleep than not eat.
I feel like I'm doing a favor to the world if I get my 8 hours of sleep. Like if not,
Me
it's
too.
just like you don't want to be around me.
I know Marissa. I know Happy knows what I'm talking about when I talk about sleep deprivation.
Yes, that, and I'm so busy I forget to eat all the time.
There you go.
No, it's serious. Like Nando and I always joke that
We
like
talk
I
about
haven't eaten yet today because I'm so busy working.
That's
just me.
Yeah, no, it's not just you. I'm sure there
I'm
are
gonna
other
start bringing
people.
donuts. That's a good idea.
Oh my goodness. We can eat it as we do.
You guys
No,
are
that's
gonna
the
love
worst.
that.
That's the worst thing to give someone who hasn't eaten anything, because then you're giving them a sugar rush, and they probably
Right.
crash
It's
harder.
So delicious.
I'll bring a banana too, and I was like, okay, you can take the banana.
Okay.
I'll have the donut.
All right, fair enough. But anyway, yeah. So I think it's. I've dealt with. You could say it.
We found who the actor who plays
We
Mark
we
Collins.
being
Monse
Monse and her
from-
Take your
glitter
credit.
phone.
Take
my
your
glitter
credit.
phone.
And her
Yeah.
glitter phone.
It was a little bit of a mission more than I thought, but Joshua Leonard, and you said
He's been in some
familiar?
other stuff too.
Yeah, he was in Blair Witch Project.
Ah.
He is Men of Honor, If I Stay. So
Maid of
Hi,
Oh, if-
Honor.
yeah.
yeah,
I don't
he's,
remember
him.
he's done a couple.
He's
of,
done some stuff. He looks
yeah.
fairly familiar, and he did a really good job playing this
He
character.
did great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
very much like a crazy genius.
Very much like a crazy genius.
It makes me
So-
think of like what Walter looked like when they were in the rabbit hole.
Well,
together,
I can
you
imagine
know?
being on a bender. Obviously, being on a bender, you're probably not showering. You're not changing your clothes. You're not eating. You're not sleeping. Who knows what else? You're not shaving.
Well, this guy doesn't.
I might have been on a bender. I don't realize it. Yeah, absolutely.
This dude looks like he's in a permanent rabbit hole, though. Did you see that
Yeah.
apartment or that house is insane?
Yeah.
How do you live like that? That was the first thing I thought. I was like, I would.
Well,
I
he was.
couldn't.
He
All
was.
the papers on
He
the
was like the
walls and
recordings are my photographs. Like what?
Oh, okay. But yeah, very much. Well, you know what? Again, it's very cliche. That's interesting. Oh, that's why. Okay, we're just dealing with a little technical thing at the same time here, but we're about to fix that. And I'm just stalling.
I hope we're about to fix that.
I don't know. Monty and I might have to share a mic.
I love
think-
sharing. Oh wait.
No.
It's
Oh,
Did that
darn.
sound better?
My plan didn't work. Anyway, I'm just teasing.
Nando just wanted me to be like this.
Yes, I just want the whole time just be like that.
Nando is the mark of us. He did it on purpose just to get her to.
It was my plan.
Closer.
I convinced Happy to do that.
Thanks,
Just like
Marissa.
Mark did.
We're already close. I
Yeah.
mean,
We're already close.
we're at
But again, his house kind of mimics everything about him. Very unkept. He obviously, just like he doesn't shave or he doesn't, clean himself, he doesn't clean his place. It's all old technology, which I want to bring up later. Using audio cassettes. I don't know. I'm old enough to remember using them. I don't know how many people out there are. Everyone uses digital media now, but yeah, and it also I think is a sign of not trusting digital media, for example, not trusting that kind of stuff, using the old reliable stuff. His perception is it's old reliable, kind of like he trusts his own instincts because we find out has an IQ of 190, of over 190, which comes second only to Walter. As far as we know, we don't know the IQs of everybody else, but we really see how Mark plays mind games on the group.
Right.
Which
especially Walter.
Yeah.
Especially Walter. I thought it was really interesting. Maybe I'm jumping ahead a tiny bit here, but when the gang finally knows about Mark, Toby's the one that says, and Toby's the behaviorist. Toby's the one that you would think knows how to do the mind games or can figure it out the most, but he's the one that says Mark has these mind games. He gets you in these mind games. So for him, that's like a big sign of respect to have Toby kind of say that. You know, it would be like Sylvester saying, he can add, he can multiply tons of figures or something like that. It's like saying, wow, he actually has, major credibility in this.
Well, but even Sylvester says that Mark beat him in chess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And second guess
Always.
every
making
move.
him doubt every move.
Yeah.
So
And that's what he was doing to
crazy.
Paige in a sense when he was like, you keep.
Well,
Walter keeps telling you fine until after 1,000 fines you start to worry that maybe things aren't fine.
Well, we see that even in the end because Paige is like just
Right.
coming up and just saying it. That was the smartest thing she could have done, actually.
I'm happy that she's really starting to come in her own in the group. She's figuring things out for them. She's fitting in her place, and she's standing up for herself. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. I agree with Paige. This episode also, well, we'll get into it later on, but, Mark talks about, he is needed in the group. He wants to be back in the group, and Paige really is his replacement. We figure out in the end. So that's really, really interesting as well. However, we see that the case here is about a nuclear power plant. That's exactly where Mark was going he breached the perimeter of the nuclear power plant because he had an issue. And one thing we noticed right away between Walter and Mark is they have this shorthand with using numbers specifically that only the two of them really, really can see. And it's really interesting to see them, and they use numbers, and numbers talk about dates, and obviously everything it's like a filing system, almost like a Dewey Decimal System in a way, in the sense that he uses all these numbers, and Walter just goes back, and into his mind and realizes exactly what day he's talking about and what they exactly did. I can't remember the name of that. There's a term for that kind of a mind, like an autobiographical mind where
Eidetic.
Is it that one?
It might be eidetic.
I don't know if it's eidetic. I heard it on another show
That's
fairly
pretty
recently.
It's eidetic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one. Oh, that's the episode. Sylvester has that too. No, was it Sylvester? No. All right. I do so many shows here at AfterBuzz. I know it happened on a show recently. Someone can please, put it on YouTube. It's fine. But I love, it's a really interesting shorthand, and we see the base people. By the way, the guy who was in charge of the base of security. I think that's. I'm trying to look it up. Your glitter film might be better than my iPad here for some reason. I'm not getting Wi-Fi. The guy who did the chief of security, he looked like McKinley Williamson, if I say his name right. He was from Forrest Gump, Bubba from Forrest Gump, but I'm not sure. I think that was him, but I could be wrong. But either way, he's also a very big character actor, and he's been in a lot of stuff. So forgive me. We're looking it up right now. So. You can yell at YouTube that I got it wrong for taking an educated guess. Yes, absolutely. Anyway, we get to see him too, and I think he's a great actor, even if I do mess up his name. So anyway, so let's talk about the case. So there's a nuclear power plant, and it's closed down. It's going to take 8 years pretty much for the reactors to just go back to normal, the radioactive levels to go back to normal. So really, the job for the security detail there is just to make sure, just to watch over everything.
Monitor.
There's no monitor. There's no there's just security. There's really no scientists there monitoring anything. And as far as they know, the everything is fine. And the equipment is outdated, partially because I guess they're just there to monitor. They're not really there. You don't really upgrade to iOS 8 or
if you're not using it.
Yeah, if you're not really using it, you're not going to really be upgrading at all. So it's outdated equipment. We see some stuff when Happy and Toby go into that one room. It's like those old, enormous computer monitors.
Yeah.
We saw the printer. That little dock matrix printer. I'm surprised we didn't hear a modem. And like, you've got mail. That'd be really funny.
Oh yeah.
I'm surprised we didn't hear any of that. But really outdated equipment, and kind of in a way like Mark's house. Because Mark's house is a bit old equipment, old technology as well, which I think is really, really important to note in this whole planning. So anyway, so Mark is insisting that the reactor is not all is not well over there, that there are some problems, and through the case ends up being that in approximately like a day and a half, again, a time limit, although 18 hours actually is like a luxury vacation for these guys usually, it's like it's usually like within the next hour.
But it all, of course, changes quick.
It all changes quick due to some calculations from, some messing around from Happy, which ends up, we realized, was actually some of the mind games that Mark was playing. There's going to be a meltdown if they don't act fast. So, of course, the team gets involved, and they have to deal with Mark, and Mark's giving orders.
Right. I love when he first jumps in there, too. He's just like, the gang's all here, and I love it. Like, he's just, like, so confident in his place.
I think Monse has a casting update.
I think you were talking about.
Yes, is that him?
I think
that's
so.
him.
Yeah,
McKinley Williamson.
Williamson.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
that's exactly who it was.
Forrest Gump is one of my favorite movies, so I was like, I better get this guy. I better get this guy right. But he's been in a lot of stuff too, besides Forrest Gump. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so I love the way he's just giving orders out, and Walter is allowing him to give the orders, and he says it's efficient. And really, technically, he's just telling people to do what they're good at, but it just shows how the team really doesn't like him. They're just really agitated from him even speaking to them. They don't even want to hear from him.
Yeah.
And they're like little backhanded compliments, like Mark is telling Sly, "Oh wow, you're smarter than I thought you were," and then Sly's like, "I was always smart." He goes, "Oh, if you think so," or something like that. And then of course him telling Happy what to do, and it was really interesting. At one point, he said something about changing the equipment, like you don't want to put a new engine into an old car. But then he started making comments when Happy wanted to do something and saying this isn't like a motorcycle repair type of thing, and that really pissed her off. So it's kind of like that one family member or that one friend.
It's always annoying.
Who just knows what buttons to push. Yeah, it's not even always
stepping
annoying.
on your toe.
Yeah, they know exactly where to
push to get you riled up.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's a genius does not, because it's like we have that annoying friend, but that annoying friend isn't
dumb.
a genius.
Yeah.
Exactly. So now we have this genius annoying friend who knows exactly how to get to everyone's boiling point.
Especially when he also has Walter under his belt, because Walter can't disagree with him because what he's saying is technically the best thing for the group to do.
Yeah, he knows exactly how to play the group in such a way that Walter has no defense either. Walter's like, well, he's doing what he's supposed to be doing, and I don't know if this is the whole the high IQ low EQ thing, but I guess Walter's just letting him get away with it. And Paige is giving him little tips here and there, like you shouldn't keep secrets from the group. This isn't the way to bring the group in. When they first found out about Mark, she said secrets breed distrust, which obviously is true. So Paige is noticing all of this, but Paige really is just on the back burner for the first half of this episode, at least. So again, I love, so we see that, he kind of has his little digs to Slide. Nothing else, and the fact that he beat a grandmaster at chess, I think, is actually a really, really interesting concept. Toby makes a compliment about his mind games. Happy is clearly just like, if Happy could slug him, she'd slug him.
I'm surprised she didn't.
I'm surprised.
To be honest.
It'd be nice if she had a little.
Just a little bit, like at the end.
Yeah. Well, it was probably a smart move too to also send her to another room where she can get stewing, in her own anger, separately. And of course, she sees all this crappy equipment, and the only thing that really saves her from doing anything is Toby, of course.
Right.
And Toby writing that little note. When she's getting really, really pissed off, and saying, "You'll open it when the time is," one of those little, it's like a little Jedi trick or something. You'll open it when the time is right. So, which was kind of a cute little adorable thing. And obviously, here's a sign of Toby. I don't think we've really seen Toby do anything nice
No.
He cares, right? He cares.
Because I think it's really been Happy watching out for Toby, but not even in a nice way, in a like a kid, sister, brother type of way.
Like, I'm looking out for you because I don't want
you to get
Walter
hurt.
to get mad at me. Or something more like that. That's how I've always seen it.
But Toby that was kind of a really cool move from Toby.
Even afterwards, when he says something to Mark, he says something like, if you, I don't remember exactly, but if you do something or if you annoy her, I'm coming for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh.
I thought
Marina loves all the love happening on the show.
Yeah, she's just
just wanna
awing the
spread
whole
love.
time.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are affecting her. You're affecting her.
Marina had her hands out the whole. She wasn't writing notes. She was just putting a little heart sign.
Yeah, and she's like,
whole
oh,
show.
moment.
Yeah, I love it. But I love when they bring that back because it makes us fall in love with the characters more so that when there's all this action, we still have moments for all of us. Just be like, oh.
There's little cute moments in between all the action and everything, like you said. So the big dilemma ends up being in the nuclear plant is that they're about to actually run the process to upgrade the software to fix the system, and Happy insists on doing a diagnostics test before they do that. So the dilemma is, because the system is so old, and Mark's complaint is that if she runs the system, and it might tax the whole system itself, and then there will be a meltdown. Right. And of course, Happy's like, "What if you go through and there's any problems at all? We'll have a meltdown anyway."
Meanwhile, everyone's watching, and the arguments going
back and forth, and Gallo and everyone's there seeing this family fight, kind of.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah, and Walter eventually ends up siding with Mark because, again, Mark makes, unfortunately, this situation the most sense. And the case again was, I think his reasoning was, if Happy gets her way and there's a meltdown, it'll happen right away. If Mark gets his way and there's a meltdown, there's still 18 hours. It's just that they won't have time to fix it. It'll be a slow burn.
Yeah.
Which I don't know which case would be better. I think it would be better to just melt down right away. I've got 18 hours to live. Without fixing it. But anyway, so Walter goes for Mark's plan, and Mark seems to be right. Happy gets pissed off.
Of course, as she would. She has the right to get pissed.
Right. Yeah. She should have slugged Walter, to be honest.
She slugged Walter.
Yeah.
Well, she got pissed at him when they walked outside, saying, "Don't ever pick somebody else's side."
Yeah. In public, because again, it was like a family fight. It was like airing, it was airing dirty laundry out in public in a way. You know, government officials
choosing sides to someone that they had already kicked out of the group when she should be his choice.
Absolutely. Right. So she, I think Walter had a valid case. I mean, this was like a decision right now. It's not time to call time out. You're in the middle of a crisis.
Yeah. Right.
But still, Happy didn't like it. Happy decides to go off on her own anyway. She figures the best thing she could do is to actually set her own diagnostic test and test like half the system, whatever's not going to interfere with Mark's test. And that ends up being lethal.
Right.
Because that causes the breakdown in the system that requires a meltdown. So all of a sudden alarms are blazing off. Happy realizes it's her fault.
And she admits it right away, which I was impressed with. She's just like, I think it was me.
Yeah. So that's honest of her to actually do that. And here's a moment where she's actually, maybe Mark's right. There's a moment where she's doubting herself.
Of course, because that's what he does. He's crazy.
Ryland's getting cray-cray.
I know. So, we don't realize that at the time.
I don't like this Mark guy.
He's like, I'm done.
I'm done.
I'll stop watching the show right now.
Cray-cray.
I don't think he'll be back. We're fine.
Yeah, I think, watch. She's going to come back and Ryland's going to be all mad.
We're going to be heated, you guys. Be pissed for Happy, too.
Oh, man.
So funny.
But yeah, I mean, we don't realize this at the time. We think it's actually legitimately Happy's fault, which even, I think as an audience, we even doubt Happy because she admits it. So I think it's a brilliant move.
Because she went behind his back, didn't she? She was like, I'm going to do this because it will guarantee us at least a little bit of safety.
It sounded...
And she goes, it sounded like she went behind Walter's back to do it, and then, I don't know, where alarm starts going off, so she's like...
Well, she went behind his back, but even the way she said it kind of made sense. Like, how many times do you do it? You check things before you go forward. It makes sense. It's a plan. Yeah. But then we realized, holy crap, Mark this crazy guy who we just met was actually right.
So we think.
So we think. So, So we see. Oh, I love this part. I love this part. We're watching the show. So the alarms are going off like crazy, and everybody is running for the doors.
Yes.
Right. So almost everybody gets out. And the door is closed, leaving Gallo behind with Walter. So somehow Happy finds through the outdated system that there's a door that's malfunctioning, closing slower than the other ones.
Of course.
So first of all, we see both Walter and Gallo just jogging.
Jogging.
Just jogging.
They're like
Jogging.
It was a
Like,
jog.
yeah.
And then you brought up a good point that it's probably because they're like looking to see which door it is.
But there's only one passageway,
Yeah.
and
Right.
the door is actually straight ahead, which I thought was kind of funny. At least I would have said at least make them turn
At
somewhere.
least break a sweat.
And they weren't even like looking around. It was just like if
was
you
like-
see that same image of them walking and you put on a different song, like the same song we opened the show with, it would have just been them happy.
Comical.
Just like, yeah.
It's like I'm looking for my favorite store to go shopping.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
like-
It's like, yeah, let's see. I'm going on a jog, finding my store. Yeah, totally. So we see them jogging. And then finally Walter sees the door, and it looks like Walter starts going faster, and Gallo starts going faster, and then Gallo trips.
Of course.
And falls. Walter does the admirable thing. I mean, Walter is incredibly admirable. Gets a wrench and puts it in. You see that wrench bend like really
Yeah.
crazy. Walter gets out just in time, and Gallo's trapped. We go to commercial break, and Monse goes, "Well, that's what you get for tripping."
Okay, I didn't say it just like that, but I did say, like, all I said was that if you were in that, like, type of situation, Marissa, I told Nando, if there was a zombie apocalypse and I was running, we were both running from zombies and he tripped, bye Felicia. I'm not going to wait for you. Why are you not watching your
Survival of the
step?
fittest.
Look alive.
Exactly.
I get the
You're
survival.
taking a bait, right?
Yeah.
I get it. I get the survival of the fittest, but you like had no sympathy at all.
It was just like, you're
Especially
in this.
when they're jogging. No, I'm not gonna have sympathy when
Yeah.
you're not even sprinting.
jogging. I give you, but
It's
he was
hectic.
jogging too. They
You guys,
were
it's
both
a hectic
jogging.
situation. They're scared. My only thing for you guys is karma. If you're the one always saying like you're gonna leave the other behind, karma's gonna bite you in the butt.
If I trip, I would tell you keep going because I'll be laughing at myself that I tripped,
I'm about
and
to
then I'll
die.
get up and go, and then you know what I mean? Like,
Unless it's our boyfriend, then they better stop.
yeah, they better stop. Exactly.
Oh.
But like,
They better sacrifice themselves.
when Gallo fell, he fell
Yeah.
and then stayed down. Like he didn't fall and then like roll and continue, you know,
No.
and get
Yeah,
up. Like
yeah.
it was like a fall, and I'm gonna sit here and make it dramatic. Walter.
Wow, I guess I didn't see it that way.
No, poor guy. I
I'm
felt
sorry.
bad. But, you know, in that situation, I don't know if I would have gone back.
I was happy though that Walter did last minute decide just to go, whoop, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like he's not.
Well, yeah, I'm glad he did that too.
Yeah.
He
Well,
had to.
he, you know, the first thing he did is he went to the control panel to try and see if he could reverse the doors.
And
And
then
it's an
tag.
out of order. Yeah,
Of
it's like
course.
for repairs or
For
something like
repair
that.
tag or something.
Yeah.
Why would anything in there be updated?
Of course, totally. But I think what's really important about that scene, because they keep setting us, and I keep saying this, I'll save for predictions at the end as usual, but they keep making Gallo very sympathetic. You know, he
Yeah.
started off as this grizzled man, but now here it is, Walter.
It's very sweet.
Walter and Gallo at opposite ends, and
Yeah.
there's the window, that little small window. They're looking at
Remind
each
me
other.
of Titanic.
Yeah.
Don't let go! Don't let go!
And Gallo just has this little soft spot for Walter that I love.
Yeah.
And he doesn't
agree.
know how to respond to it. Walter's just like, okay.
I know. He gave him that nice goodbye. He's like, it was a pleasure getting to know you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Yeah, he's also bye, Felicia.
He's also by Felicia for different reasons. But I like that they show him like that because it shows how different Walter is.
Yeah.
Like, I think you're right. At the beginning of the. We're only on episode 5, but episode
Yeah.
1 to now, definitely a change in that relationship, but I
Yeah.
think it's on purpose. So
Yes.
we can see how much Walter has no heart.
Yeah.
He's like the Tin Man.
Yeah.
See, Walter's not like, oh, that's what you get for tripping. I'm out. Peace.
Okay, he's not. He's. Okay. I'm never going to hear the end of it.
No, you'll hear the end of it. You'll hear the end of it. We're done with that one. But anyway, so what happens is Gallo is trapped, and Gallo, obviously there's some really funny lines in there. Gallo's taking it pretty well, actually, for someone who is trapped and possibly going to die.
I'd be flipping.
You
Oh
know?
my god.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
I'm going
way.
cray cray.
Yeah, we loving cray cray. The word of the day here is cray cray.
I
Apparently,
don't know.
you know, we hear him say something like, "If you don't get me out of here and I end up dying, I'm gonna be really pissed off." You know, saying
Like making a
stupid-
joke,
making
right?
little jokes. And we hear when they're trying to figure out how much time it might take to get Walter out and what his chances are, we hear them talking about the greater good, which we've heard before on the show. And Walter usually is, he refuses to take the greater good. He always wants to choose like from both, you know, saving the individual or the small amount of people and, you know, saving the day and saving everybody. So we hear that. And one thing I thought was interesting is Mark's in on this conversation. And Mark is like, since when are you concerned about, you know, the life of one man? Boy, you're not the Walter I knew. So, which I think is really interesting. I don't know if that was just a mind game or if that delves into some of Walter's past or even just his relationship when he's on a bender with Mark, when he's on his benders, that he doesn't care about anyone else.
And Mark could also be jealous in the sense that he's caring for someone when he showed no compassion towards him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think, actually, you know what that line probably is, because obviously he's referring to himself as, since when do you care about the one man over the large amount of people?
He's like, I was your partner, man, and you just dropped me off.
Yeah.
Like nothing.
So it's a nice little dig. And it definitely, I mean, we see this with Walter throughout the show, too. There's a lot of guilt that he keeps bringing up about what he did, which we find out he put Mark into an institution 3 years ago, I believe it was. So, yeah, that definitely plays into that. But again, really, really interesting. We end up figuring out how to get Gallo out. You know, it requires, I believe, Mark to go back to his place with Happy, the worst person, the last person he wants to go back with.
I loved that Walter was like, Happy, you are assigned to go with him. Out of all people, it's like, you're stirring the pot, man.
But he also sends Paige.
Yes.
And I actually thought,
Paige kind of volunteers herself, though, right? Or did she not?
No,
I think he told her.
He said Gallo and Happy don't play nice, so I needed to go along, and she willingly went. Yeah. And I also think that was also his way of saying, you know, let me get Paige out of the immediate danger. I mean, she's still in danger, but let me get her out of this situation. So I kind of thought that was you know, without looking too into it, I think even subconsciously he's looking out for Paige. So they go back there. They find out this tube, I guess, that he had through some of Mark's surveillance, since he surveils everything, to get Gallo out. And then we see that really funny scene,
hilarious,
with Gallo walking out like he's Ursula Andress from the Bond movies or whatever. Yeah, you know,
Gallo's moment.
If he only had longer hair, he could just like whip it around. Actually, you know what? I had a little deja vu for some reason of Terminator 2 with Robert Patrick. You know, the way he's just walking out of nowhere, you know, and oblivious to everyone around him, and people just like looking at him. Only he's not naked.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that you could kind of see his tattoos through his wet shirt. I was like, does he have tattoos?
Yeah.
Does he have like 4?
Yeah, I wonder if that was.
Gallo.
I wonder if that's intentional.
Exactly. I was like.
Yeah, I honestly wonder if that's Robert Patrick actually has those tattoos, or if that is a character. You know, a character description or whatever. Like they actually had to make him up and put tattoos over him because they knew that the shirt would be see-through, or they made the shirt see-through. Oh. So because you
just Google,
we'll find out like
naked
this week.
Google
I'm
Robert
sure
Patrick. Marina will be googling Robert Patrick naked and let us know.
Shirtless.
Okay, shirtless.
We don't want to. I don't want to see that much.
Or whatever comes up.
We don't want to see any extra tattoos, just the ones up top. So anyway, we see he gets picked up right away, and he changes into some military fatigues, looking nice in uniform, and he gets back. So we are seeing pretty much, you know, Gallo gets saved. And we before we move on, let's talk about Paige, because Paige is now at a moment with Mark, where we talked about it a little bit, where Mark starts talking to Paige.
Gives her this like epic speech about how awful Walter is.
Yeah.
Try to put her against him.
Yeah, exactly. And talks about how he was discarded and that Walter discards everything.
Yeah.
You know?
He told her that she and Ralph are just an experiment.
Which, and also gives like in detail examples that she can immediately relate back to, like him always saying he's fine and like putting things off or not feeling emotion, where it like gets her. I'm like, no, don't do that to her.
Yeah, don't believe it.
But definitely a sympathetic moment kind of for him where Paige is doubting herself as well. Again, more doubting. And, you know, he says, how many times are you going to let, you know, Walter say he's fine? You know, I had the line written down. I don't have it in front of me, but it's something like, you know, how many times are you going to ask him if he's fine? He said he's fine, and not really let you in. And he knows he knows exactly what buttons to press. He knows exactly how to use people. He figures out that Paige is there to kind of, you know, and there's definitely jealousy there.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely
definitely.
jealousy
because
there.
Paige is in his place.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I don't think he has some of the assets Paige has to you know, but, you know, still, he, intellectually speaking, at least he does. So he wants, you know, he definitely wants to put those seeds in her brain. So let's move forward, actually. So, you know, other stuff happens. We don't understand all of it because we're not smart enough to understand, but but more or less, we're not genius level. But pretty much they do save the day, or so we think.
Yes.
Is going on, and Walter ends up figuring out, I guess through a check, he ends up figuring out that this whole plan all along was a ruse, a scheme
that Mark set up
by Mark.
Ryland's favorite actor.
Yeah, he figures out that Happy didn't cause the accident,
Yeah.
that actually Mark had her positioned perfectly and knew exactly how to play her in a mind game, like a chess move, where her next move, kind of like, you know, next move set her up for checkmate.
Right.
Just like in the chess game. So Walter figures all this out, and they needed some antennas. The only answer is they needed some antennas, and of course, the only thing Walter could think of was to go back to Happy's house for like the third, fourth time, which the team hates.
Mark's
house.
house.
Did I say, why do I do that? I do that once an episode. I always say someone's different name. To Mark's house, and the team doesn't want to go there, of course. Sly's saying, like, you know, we can figure it out on our own. We can, you know, we saw, you know, in previous weeks, Happy just made a parabolic mic out of nothing.
An umbrella.
Out of an
and a
umbrella.
cord.
So, you know, they're like, no, and they probably could.
Yeah.
They probably could, but of course they end up going back because Walter insists that that's the only way. And we see this huge standoff. And of course, what's interesting too, Gallo asked for a gun because I guess he lost his gun at some point. So we know there's going to be a gun used.
Yeah, a little
you know, there's
foreshadowing.
no reason why we wouldn't know that.
Right.
And we see this big mind game. Again, it's this code that the two of them are speaking, but it's like a lesson that Mark wants to show Walter. You know, by saying all these numbers, and Walter's just reciting what day.
I know,
what
that's
it means.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yes, that was October 12th. That was a Thursday. What?
And then he goes in detail exactly what they were doing and how long their bender was. Like, it was just,
Yeah.
it's like, what?
It's crazy, but just seeing them, and really, we do see. It is funny because it is kind of like Walter's going down the rabbit hole. It's like here comes Mark throwing numbers, and Walter's just reciting them. You know, Walter sees what, you know, that he has to save the day, but he's just getting farther and farther down the rabbit hole with this guy who obviously is living in the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And the person who ends up figuring out the whole code
Paige.
is Paige.
Which,
Yeah. Which is pretty much the first number that Mark says to Walter when Walter walks in, 782, which was 782 days since they last
saw each other.
Yeah.
which is crazy that
Yeah.
he's, I don't know if he has to count for those things or if he just knows, but in my, like, I don't know if Genius's minds, he just knows.
Yeah.
Right?
And he knew the exact date, and they said the date, and the second that Paige gets it right and Sly tries to put the digits in, all of a sudden we see Mark get, freak out because he knows he got busted, he got found out, and Gallo shoots him.
Right. I love too before when Gallo pulls the gun on Mark, where he's like, "What? You're gonna shoot me? Then you're like destined for failure, and we're all going down." It's just funny.
Yeah.
So like the gun was kind of irrelevant, but then it did come in handy because he was gonna go after.
Right.
Stop him.
Yeah, exactly. I'll have something to say about that, but I'm going to save it because I want to save it for the right moment.
Okay.
But because maybe for the ending. But anyway, so for the
Stay
ending,
tuned.
I'll save it for the ending. But anyway, yeah, I thought it was really well played the way he played, even Gallo a little bit. But Gallo gets to shoot him, which I'm sure Happy wishes she had the gun.
Yeah.
Gallo gets to shoot him. They save the day. Everything's fine, and Mark gets sent away into lockup. He's handcuffed, and we see Walter visit him. I think this is where, of course, we get the family back together. Everyone starts mending a little bit. We talked a little bit about Paige kind of walking up to Walter at the very end, saying, don't kick me. You can do whatever you want to me, but don't do this to Ralph.
Yeah.
It's too important to do this to Ralph. And which I think was really, really a tender moment.
Yeah.
Mark even said at one point that Walter was using Ralph to repair his own youth, which again, another dig. But I think we've seen enough of Walter to know that he's not really like that. But it's again amazing the mind tricks that these people are falling for with Mark.
Yeah.
But really sad. But Paige also really, really cool in the sense that she's bringing food. She's getting them to do chicken piccata. Yeah, chicken piccata.
Yeah.
And Sly, of course, wants a chicken thermometer. Make sure probably to test.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Yes.
make it perfect so there's no germs on the chicken, and he's washing his hands, which I thought was a really cute Sly moment.
Yeah.
And we, I don't want to skip this over. This is actually the part I want to talk about. When we see Walter go visit Mark. And Mark's in a wheelchair, I believe, right? Because he got his leg, he's got a bullet in his leg, and he's handcuffed. There was this moment that reminds me of, I'm going to say a movie. I don't know if you guys seen Unbreakable. It's M. Night Shyamalan with Mel Gibson and I think it's all called Unbreakable. It's the superhero movie. It's the kind of superhero movie with Mel Gibson and Samuel Jackson. Where oh God, I think it's Unbreakable. So
I think
feel
you're
free to
right.
correct.
I haven't seen it in
So
long.
this reminded me of the ending scene because Mr. Glass, Samuel Jackson, was also in a wheelchair, and this was like the revelation that all along he was kind of helping Mel Gibson to become a superhero, and then we found out that Samuel Jackson was actually the super villain who was setting him up. And it had this very similar mood to me of that scene. And I felt like we're actually looking at a supervillain to Team Scorpion.
Yeah, I can
Oh.
see. Yeah, I'll say for predictions.
Yeah, the way. Well, you could say for predictions that maybe he'll be back after. Maybe he will be back after all. I don't want to call it a prediction because I just thought it was a really cool scene. But he really just to me for some reason at that moment he felt like a supervillain.
Right, like he's plotting against.
Yeah. I don't know if he'll get out. It'd be really interesting if he got out and caused some more havoc. I do like this character. I know you don't like him.
No, but the show, to develop the show, I think he's great. I don't know how they would bring. Oh, I see how they'd bring him back, but it would just stir drama. I think maybe once they run out of. I don't think for a while though. They'll let him sit in confinement, and then.
Yeah.
Once they run out of some storylines, they'll bring him back to cause some drama.
Yeah, he can't be in every episode. He can't just be in the show.
That would be that would be ridiculous if he was in every episode. I think it would be overkill.
But definitely he could come back at some point.
I don't know if I'm old enough to remember sweeps, November sweeps, February sweeps. Like I could see this character coming back at a time when CBS really wants to heavily promote sweeps, or like if this was if CBS had I don't know if they have the Super Bowl this year. I don't think they do. If they had the Super Bowl, I could see this being like a post Super Bowl episode where they bring back a character. But I definitely I like this character, and I kind of wouldn't mind seeing him wreaking havoc again.
Yeah.
So I think he'd be really, really cool. One thing I also want to say that I noticed at the end, and there was a line, and I can't remember the line. This whole thing was about technology in a way. Like they showed the old technology and about upgrading. And really, Paige was an upgrade from the old technology.
You're right.
Yeah.
So really, this is about like the old technology and how, and also just noticing how Mark was, he was very reliant on himself. He didn't, he obviously had all the answers. It's kind of the way we look at sometimes like our old trusty, the things that we value that we've had for years, like they're reliable, and then we discard them. Sometimes, he was kind of like that kind of technology as well. And it was just really interesting that his whole plan, again, very super villainish, kind of like a Batman villain, always has certain things. Like he uses old technology and his, So I really felt like thematically speaking, it really was about upgrading the group and getting rid of old technology. And that's what the whole episode was about with the reactor system and with Mark. So, and of course, at the very end, we have that beautiful family moment. The gang's all together
Which is the best.
again.
Those are such the rewarding parts.
Yeah, and there's a moment between Happy and Toby
At the end.
Yes, we can't forget that.
They've been heating up this whole episode. And I used to, last week, I was like, they're just awkward. But now it's kind of becoming cute. Like, it's less awkward, more cute.
It's gonna happen.
We didn't bring up the note. I actually was looking down at I was writing notes when you guys noticed it, but because that's probably why I didn't think about the note. But the note was really cute when you told me what it said, because I reminded it. It was like made you look.
Put a smile on her face.
Yeah.
Very, very cute.
Good job, Toby.
Yeah, absolutely. There was some really, overall, there were a lot of cute characters. There's another moment I thought was funny. I don't have my notes in front of me. It's like when Gallo was trapped and he said, if this doesn't work out, I just want you to know I like you very much. And then Walter goes, okay. Okay.
And then he has a moment with his photograph too, with his daughter. You know,
Yeah.
He looks at it. He's like, I might be with you
Yeah.
soon.
But that moment was great too. But that moment reminded me of like Empire Strikes Back when like Princess Leia says "I love you" and Han Solo says "Ditto."
know.
Yeah, it was kind of
I
like
know.
it was kind of like, oh, I know. Was it I know or
It's
Ditto?
I know.
It was I know. There was another movie I think that Ditto was used in an "I love you" moment, but it was kind of like one of those moments like I'll miss you very much.
Ditto.
I know.
I'm gonna use
I know.
the
Whatever.
ditto.
Yeah, Ditto.
Ditto.
But very much like that. And then and Gallo seeing his kid. We heard about her in the episode when the biohacking episode. So also really sad. So anyway, I think we pretty much went through everything on this show, right? I don't have any news and gossip, so I think we should, unless anyone else does, we should move over to some predictions.
Yes.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Okay. So,
I never have good predictions.
well, don't set it up that way.
Yeah,
Everyone's
so-
looking
Don't
forward to
set us up
predictions.
to fail.
No, everyone's looking forward to predictions. Like, I don't have any. This
They
is-
will be good. I promise they'll be good. I'm just saying I'm very bad at this show's predictions.
It is hard because it's a procedural.
Yes,
yeah.
agreed.
There will be a case next week. There's a
Yes.
prediction.
Yeah, I can
There
tell
we
you
go.
that.
It's a procedural.
Well, we saw that NCIS. It's going to be like
Linda Hunt.
infused.
So that's
Yeah.
really awesome. She's a great actress, and so NCIS Los Angeles. We reported this in the news a couple of weeks ago that they were going to be doing, I guess, a crossover, as close to a crossover as you can get. It's only one character.
Yeah.
But it's going to be really cool to see Hetty, I believe the name of her character is, on the show.
Yeah.
So and see how these two worlds mix together.
Yeah.
So and. Do you think it's going to be? I mean, next week is pretty much Halloween. Do you think it's going to be like it's the last Monday before Halloween? Do you think it's going to be a little Halloweeny?
I don't
think
think
so.
so.
Because
No?
I think they would have promoted it some way.
A little bit
like
more
that.
so?
Yeah, because that's a good way to promote something.
I
It's
guess that's true.
Halloween.
Yeah.
You know, like
Okay.
come, it's
Right.
something's
Maybe
gonna happen.
maybe they'll do the Monday after Halloween. I don't know.
Some shows do that, like the following one.
Yeah.
Because Halloween lands on a Friday.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. What role do you think? Linda Hunt's going to play in this? Do you think she's going to be?
Maybe she'll be the villain.
Well, I mean, it's going to be her character for NCIS,
Oh,
so
okay.
she's not going
I
to.
don't want you.
That would really
Sorry,
suck if
guys.
she's the villain.
You'd be really bad for both shows.
Well, what do you think?
no.
Do you think she's smart enough to hang out with the Scorpion crowd? That's the question. I know. I don't know if anyone here watches NCIS. I will absolutely say I do not follow that show just because I have too many shows to follow, more so than not. But do you think she'll be able to hang with them? Do you think she'll be mad at them a lot, kind of like the disgruntled, official that's like, oh my God, these.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be like she doesn't trust them because she's gonna be like, you don't know what it's like to be in the Force. You
Yeah.
don't know my experience, what I know. And then they're gonna come through for her, and she's gonna be like,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be that magical moment that Marina likes.
Do you think we're gonna see?
that has her going, oh.
Yeah.
Are we gonna see any more sparks, Marina? Are we
Yes.
gonna see?
Always.
Yeah.
You know what though? You guys can make fun of me. But it's a good balance. It's a good balance. You need that in a TV show.
You
If
do.
it's the
Yeah.
same thing the whole episode, every episode, you're like, oh.
You have to care about the characters. The character development
Yeah.
is
It creates
key.
connection, right?
I
It makes
agree.
me want to keep watching the show when
Yeah.
those little cute moments happen.
I agree. I just don't awe like you do. I like that
That's
you
funny.
awe.
She's probably has like hearts in her notepad.
Like on the serious note, I hope we get a love interest for Gallo.
Oh.
I really do, because the fact that he doesn't have his daughter makes me sad. Like I feel like he's alone.
Yeah.
We should introduce someone.
I think
Yeah.
that's.
Do it, CBS.
Wouldn't it be funny if it was
Yeah.
Linda Hunt? Wouldn't it be
That's
funny?
awesome.
That would be
That would-
funny.
that
Like
would
the
be-
two,
If
yeah.
there was little
That would be
sparks
funny.
between the two, it would be an odd pairing, but I think it'd be really funny.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Just something.
Because she is like his age range.
Yeah.
So,
And then Happy and Toby are just going to keep heating up.
Happy and Toby are going to. I know you're looking forward
That's
to that.
what's on
too.
fire. Well, yeah. At first I thought it would be awkward, but now I'm on board.
And,
On board. It's gonna be good.
And I think we all kind of agree, at least if he's not coming back, we kind of want to see more of Mark Collins.
Yeah.
Yes.
In the future.
In the
In the
future.
future.
Not right away.
Yeah.
But in the future, I think it'd be really cool to bring him back.
He's
if
a
this
great
show gets picked
character.
up and everything, I really want to see more of him. Great. Awesome. So until our next episode of Scorpion, thank you guys for tuning in, by the way. Where can we catch all you guys on social media?
Well, you can find me on Instagram at Ryland Adams and on Twitter at Ryland_Adams.
Awesome.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Rena Brazil.
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Monse Bolanos, MonseBolanos.
Nice. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Nando Vel. It's Nandovel. You can find us all on various AfterBuzz shows here, or at least some of us. I know, Monse, you're doing Gotham. I do Walking Dead and Homeland and Blacklist, and we have a ton more, like 80 different shows. Hey, please, by the way, if you're on iTunes, please rate us and comment. We'd love to see some more. Same thing with YouTube and on AfterBuzzTV.com. We'd love to hear more from you. But until next time, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next Monday.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.